my husband and I were at dinner during one of the nights for the trial, and my husband's like, your phone hasn't rang. Like, nobody's asking you questions. And it was really bizarre because, I mean, my phone would be ringing all nights, even with the other on-call service, because they're always like, can we offer this person like another $1 an hour? But because we had already set the procedures and SOPs and everything like that, Riley was already like, she already knew, like, if this person didn't take it, they could escalate. And we already had everything in place. So she already knew what to do. And I didn't get any calls. I had a whole dinner without a single phone call. My scheduler, who also, she and I would be the ones that were always answering the calls, she goes, I went to a movie. So like literally day 2, and she goes, how fast can we turn this on? Like,
you're listening to Home Care Hindsight, the podcast where we talk with home care leaders about the big mistakes they've made and the even bigger lessons they've learned along the way. I'm David Knack, head of sales here at Zingage, and I've built a career on the idea that we learn a whole lot more from our mistakes than from our successes, which is great because I've made a lot of mistakes. I've gotten to know some of the leaders in this industry who've built amazing businesses and are super well respected. So I thought it'd be fun, instead of asking them about the great things they've accomplished, to have them tell the story of one of the biggest mistakes that they've made and how that mistake changed their thinking and the way they run their business. All right, welcome back to another episode of Home Care Hindsight, brought to you by Zingage. I am joined today by Lisa Hall. Lisa, welcome to the show.
thanks for having me, David.
Hey, for people who are not familiar with you, how would you introduce yourself?
So my name is Lisa Hall. I'm the owner of Griswold Home Care for Plano, and I've been the owner for about 4 years now.
And you have a really interesting background before you got into home care. So what'd you do before?
I spent most of my career in the automotive industry as a quality director. So definitely a giant step away from the automotive industry into home care.
Yeah, and is that like, are you like an engineer by training, or like what do you do?
I am an engineer by training. I have a bachelor's degree in mechanical design and a master's degree in organizational management. So, and then other certifications and all kind of geeky things. So
yeah, cool. What's your favorite car project that you were involved in?
Oh gosh, Tesla. So Tesla was my customer, and it's just amazing the technology that Tesla had, that they were just light years ahead of everybody else. So Tesla was definitely my favorite project to work on.
Cool. Okay, great. Well, you have, and as we were talking, like we've known each other for a couple of years now, but like,
yeah,
I would say over the last 6 months, over the last 9 months, you've experienced some kind of crazy growth in your business. So talk a little bit about like where you kind of were in your business and what kind of prompted the growth and kind of some of how you've managed that growth.
You know, home care is an up and down business. And last summer we were down. We were, probably below 1,000 hours, had to let people go. It's really tough situation. I was helping a lady with a pet project, and she was a director at a CCRC. And she's like, you're not getting into my CCRC. And I'm like, that's okay. I've got time on my hands. I just want to help you with your pet project, and just willing to help. And I helped her for about 3 or 4 months. And in the fall, she called me up and she asked me, she goes, our current backup at our CCRC is no longer able to help us. And she goes, would you be willing to be our backup? And I said, sure. What does it entail? And she goes, well, you probably have 4 or 5 referrals a month. She goes, would you be able to handle that? And I'm like, sure, no problem. So she's like, I'll get you set up with the director. And she goes, but it's entirely her decision, not mine. And so I met with the director the following week, and they were happy with us because we had been in the top 100 from Activated Insights for 2025. So she was very happy with all our credentials. And she said in about 2 weeks, we'll probably give you your first referral. Well, within 3 days, she had given us our first referral, and it was a 24/7. So the referrals that they're giving us were not like 12 hours a week. These were big referrals. So it's referrals that they can't handle themselves. So anything over 2 hours a shift we were getting. So it really had an impact, and we're probably doing about 1,000 to 1,200 hours a week with them now. So it's really made a huge impact on our business. So
I mean, your business is like double the size this year at this time than basically it was this time last year.
Yeah, a couple weeks ago we went over 2,000 hours, which for us is huge. So
yeah, I mean that's crazy growth. Obviously, there's people who are doing greater scale than that, but like from where you were to where you are today, that's crazy growth rate in a pretty short period of time. And like obviously, we've been partnering together on managing some of that growth. Talk a little bit about kind of the work that we've been doing together and how that's impacted the business.
Oh my gosh! So when I first started with you guys, it was for employee appreciation. And that was great for us. It really helped with employee retention. Oh my gosh. The stories I can tell you about that. I will tell you one story about that. One girl was like, she goes, I'm standing at Walmart. She goes, I'm watching my groceries go down the belt. And she goes, I know I don't have enough money in my account to pay for everything. And she goes, then I remembered and at the time it was Ava. She goes, I've got Ava rewards. And she goes, I'm on my app as things are going down the belt. And she goes, I downloaded my points, had my gift card before they finished ringing up, and they were able to scan that gift card, and she was able to pay for all her groceries before. So it was that quick. And she called me up that night, and was so grateful for the Ava rewards. Being able to have that. She goes, you don't know what it means to be able to not be embarrassed that I have to put things back. And so the Ava rewards have been, were a great retention starter for us. So we've known each other a long time. So that's why I said you guys have changed names, but we started with you when with Ava and the employee appreciation, and it's made a huge difference in keeping our employees, and they love the rewards.
And then we've started doing some new stuff together around your like on call, your scheduling, and the AI agent that we've developed in Zingage Operator.
Oh my gosh, that's been just a game changer for us. I'm not going to lie. If there's something new, I am going to try it. And I have been through 3 different variations of an on-call, not including my own staff, of course. Some of them are just like glorified, like, hey, so-and-so called, call them back. And I don't see any value in that. And then, I did have a live answering service, or what I thought was a live answering service, and come to find out that they, started letting things go to voicemail, and then they were getting the transcripts of it and calling people back. And I'm like, I'm paying for a live answering service, and then we're paying a ridiculous amount for holidays. So it was almost the same price as having, a staff member. So it was a ridiculous price. And then we changed to somebody else that was, out of country. And we liked them, but they were getting to ask just so many questions. And so then we learned about you guys, and it's like the AI, and we've been interested in AI for a long time. Like I said, I'm an automotive girl. I like technology. And so learning about this, I'm like, I really am interested in seeing how this, and you guys were already integrated in our systems anyways with WellSky. So I'm like, seems like the next best step to try it out. And it's been amazing. So
yeah. And so, the way Zingage Operator works for you guys, for people who might not be familiar, is, at 5:00 in the evening, you roll the phones over to our AI voice. It answers every call. It can have multiple simultaneous calls. It can be doing inbound and outbound at the same time. And then it, watches all the shifts in WellSky, any missing clock ins, missing clock outs, it follows up on, and basically just, takes care of the schedule like an extension of your team overnight.
Yeah, absolutely. And you do our weekends too. So
yeah. And the nice thing about holidays is you mentioned, like, in any kind of human powered service, you're going to have the kind of quality differences between person A and person B and person C. But also holidays, they got like families and stuff that they want to hang out with. And
this maybe sounds a little sad, but the AI doesn't have a family. And, it's able to do that work and just kind of continue on with that level of thinking. And I know a lot of people are, I think, very curious about AI, know that AI is coming, but you're somebody who like AI is in your business doing stuff, client facing, caregiver facing. Talk about like how you got comfortable with that.
We got comfortable really fast because I'm going to say we did like a 2-day midweek trial, and it was we did the trial, and one evening my husband and I were at dinner during one of the nights for the trial, and my husband's like, "Your phone hasn't rang. Like nobody's asking you questions." It was day 2 of the trial. And he's like, "Nobody's asking you questions." And it was really bizarre because I mean, my phone would be ringing all nights, even with the other on-call service. They're like, because they're always like, can we offer this person like another $1 an hour? But like, because we had already set the procedures and SOPs and everything like that, Riley was already like, she already knew like if this person didn't take it, they could escalate, and we already had everything in place. So she already knew what to do. And I didn't get any calls. I had a whole dinner without a single phone call. And it was like, and my scheduler, who also she and I would be the ones that were always answering the calls, she goes, "I went to a movie," and it was like, she goes, "My phone didn't ring at all. I didn't have to get up and leave and everything like that." So like literally day 2, and she goes, "How fast can we turn this on?" Like, like by day 2, we were like, "How fast can we turn this on completely?" Because it was literally night and day, because we were not getting any it's just like the toddler tugging at your like skirt going, "Hey, hey, hey, hey." And with this, we're not getting those just really silly, repetitious questions, because Riley has her SOPs. She learns, and if she asks a question, she learns and she retains it. And you can review the dashboards. Now you get escalations, of course. We had a client pass away this week, and so she called us, but you're going to have those, because we don't want to completely take the humanity out of it, but she handles all those little things that we do not have to anymore, and it's really freed up my team to allow us to handle these extra hours without adding extra people. So it's just been amazing for us.
There were a couple of particular issues that came up that we were chatting through, and one of them that made me nervous anytime I see it, just because from outside of being in the operating seat on this side of the fence, anytime I see client hospitalization, my instinct is, oh, that's a heart attack, that's a stroke, that's a client who fell and broke their hip. Like, it's worst case scenario. And what I learned from you, and have since learned from some other people, is there's a lot of like dumb reasons for hospitalizations too, but they still suck up just as much time. So talk through like what happened in that situation, and how you responded, and what happened after that.
Okay, so in this situation, Mrs. L was having a panic attack because she had a procedure the next day that she didn't want to have. And so it was really simple. Riley took the call and said, Mrs. L is going to the hospital. She's having palpitations. And we're like, the only interaction we really had was, we're like, send the caregiver with her to the hospital. So we made sure that the caregivers were going to the hospital with her. The next caregiver was and we're like, keep the caregivers with her. So Riley, oh my gosh, Riley did everything. She called the next caregiver, told her what hospital she was going to. She talked to the caregiver that was there and said, go with her. And she called the caregiver the next morning. So Riley handled everything. And this wasn't, and I shouldn't be laughing, but this was not an emergency. She was in a panic attack. I'm going to say panic attacks, when you're having them, are very serious. But she was very nervous about this procedure the next morning. And so the caregivers went with her. Riley kept getting updates from the caregiver all evening. So and we can see this all on the dashboard. So we got updates all evening, like very detailed updates about what was going on. And so she was discharged the next morning. Our care coordinator went over and met her. They were able to cancel the doctor's appointment because she was just in no mood to have that. Obviously, with the panic attack, she was in no mood to have her procedure that day. Got it rescheduled. As soon as that was rescheduled, she was fine. So, but Riley was able to get. So she rescheduled. She sent the caregiver that was there and sent 2 different caregivers to the hospital with her. And then the second one that was rescheduled in the morning brought her back to her apartment. So she rescheduled everything. We didn't have literally any input with her, at all, because we're like, make sure the caregivers stay with her because she's having a panic attack. And she handled everything. It was just fabulous.
And so, like, one detail that I think most people will be aware of, but just to kind of draw a line around is, of course, the place where the shift change is happening, because this is a client with back-to-back shifts with different caregivers. The place where the shift change is happening is not within the geofence. And so we have to manually clock out caregiver A and manually clock in caregiver B, which, walk me through, like, ordinarily this happens at like 6 p.m., gets done at like 10:30 at night.
It's actually like 8 p.m. at night. So we would have been contacting the caregiver and saying, okay, we'll get you clocked in. It's like telling her, it's at this hospital. You have to go to this room. You've got, she's back in the emergency. We would have had to talk them through everything, park here, go in this door, find her here. But Riley did everything because she knew the address of the hospital. So when the caregiver called in, she's like, are you with verified that she was with the client. And, it's like, are you, in this emergency room bay and everything like that? It's like, yes, I'm with the client. You can talk to her and everything. So, I mean, they verified everything. So talked to the client, verified that she was with her, and made sure that the caregivers knew how to get to her and everything, gave them directions to the hospital. It was just amazing. And we would have been on the phone. We would have spent hours with each caregiver, giving them directions and talking them through, taking those calls to manually clock them in and out. And Riley did it all with literally just one sentence saying, send all the caregivers with Mrs. L until she comes home from the hospital. And she handled everything from there. And the caregivers just kept communicating with Riley. It's like, we're at this hospital, we're at this room, and everything like that. And Riley handled everything.
So you, before we were working together, that would have taken probably 4 hours of you and your team's time?
Oh, easily. And then everybody, because once somebody's in, the whole team's sort of chiming in. So it's not just one person. It's like everybody going, oh, I can call the caregiver. I'll take care of the clock ins. I'll get the hospital information. So everybody's chiming in. So it's all hands on deck. And this way it was like literally one text or response back to Riley that said, hey, send the caregivers with Mrs. L until she comes home. And she took care of everything. It was like 15 seconds.
15 seconds. Then the other one that I remember was there was a report. You were looking at the report, and I saw you get frustrated with a call out that had happened before. And so just like to kind of like circle this too, you had this call out that showed up on your morning report. It was a caregiver who had called out, apparently as a frequent offender there. And then they, Riley, your AI agent, took care of that call out, found a good replacement caregiver. And when did you find out that call out had happened in the first place?
While I was on the call with you.
So, like the next day after it,
it was like
had already
after
happened.
it had already happened. Yeah. And I don't know if you watch, there's a guy on Facebook and he's called Retail King, and he has a employee called Samantha, and we nicknamed this caregiver Samantha because she is always calling out. She's in my phone book as Samantha. And, we nickname her Samantha because her name is not Samantha, but her nickname is Samantha because she always calls out. And it's usually like Sunday night before a Monday morning shift. And that's why a lot of times we don't see it, because Riley takes care of it for us. I mean, she's just reliable. So I don't have to worry about it.
It's kind of my dream outcome for people to see is to be able to say, Riley filled that call out before we knew it happened.
Yeah, and she does. She does.
Okay, cool. Well, congrats on the growth. We really, thank you so much for the partnership and all the ways that you've helped us to continue to make, our platform better. But I invite people here who are successful and are growing and all that kind of stuff, not to ask about the good stuff, but to instead ask about the big mistakes that they made and how those mistakes, change the way that they think about life or about business. So, Lisa, what's your big mistake?
Okay, so my first conference, doe-eyed walking into conference, and I signed up for literally everything at conference, like everything. And my business wasn't nearly the size it is now. It's not the size that it was last summer. And, I overextended. First of all, you can't implement everything at once. And some of the things I just didn't need, but not all the vendors are as great as you guys to work with, and they will try to sell you everything that you don't need. So signing up for everything, my first conference was a big mistake.
How have you kind of changed your approach to? Because I think there's the evaluation process for vendors. I'd be curious about that. But then also from a change management perspective, how do you make sure? Because I get the feeling that you're very much a go kind of person. You're able to handle a lot of ambiguity and change, but you've got to be able to bring your team along too. So talk to both of those sides of things. How do you evaluate vendors today? How do you get your team to come along?
And I'm not going to lie. So I was probably one of the first adopters of your on-call service, one of the first ones. And so I do a lot of research. But when I go to conference, I always tell somebody, I'm like, talk to 3 other offices that use it. And there's not always, if it's a new technology, there may not be 3 other people that use it. So you have to evaluate, is this going to, help me with my overhead? Is it going to, maybe reduce the need for hiring another person? Is this going to be a great marketing tool? So you have to, if it's not already implemented in other offices, you've got to think about what it's going to do you. And for us, when we were evaluating Zingage, we're like, okay, we were having pain points with our on-call. And it's like, you guys, we were already using you, so we already had a relationship with you. So it's not like we didn't know you, we didn't trust you. So we already had that. And you were already integrated in, WellSky. So for us, it wasn't, a huge risk. And you guys gave us, the trial period. You guys have great terms. So, and then you gave us the test periods that really sold us too. So I always tell people, really evaluate and talk to somebody else that's using it before you try it before you sign up for it.
How do you think about kind of the change management piece with respect to your office team and making sure that you're getting buy-in from them and that you're implementing it in the right way so that, there's not this adoption risk that prevents it from being successful, not because the technology is bad, but because your team wasn't adequately prepared.
Right. And I probably will use, so a couple years ago, I did buy Sensi, and it was one of the things that I'm like, hey, let's sign up for it. And I didn't listen to my team. So that was my first mistake, because they're like, we're not going to be able to get it in people's homes. And they were right. And I should have listened to them. Now, we did sign up for another technology this year called AbleCare, much more affordable technology. But they were like, this is great. We're going to be able to evaluate. It'll help us with our assessments. So they already had buy-in. So before I signed up for it, I sent them the information and I said, I know nobody else is using this yet. Look it over, look at the videos, tell me what you think before I sign up for it. So I got their buy-in before I signed up for it. So that was a big difference. Now for Zingage, I was like, but my scheduler was ready to walk, because she and I are the only ones that answer the phones really at night or we're doing any of the support with our other on-call services. So she was like, I will try anything if it's better than what we've got. So she was the buy-in. So she did buy in for this.
Yeah. Well, and the thing that I hear with the new Able Care, the new monitoring system you brought in, is your team had like specific use cases in mind. They were like, oh, this would help us in this way, and we would use it in that way. And if I'm putting my sales guy hat on, it's like when I know somebody's gonna buy, it's because they're already telling me what they're gonna do with the solution or what they're gonna do with the time that the solution saves them.
Right. So they already had multiple ideas about like how they can assess our clients, how they can help the communities that they're in. And then even marketing, it's like, hey, instead of doing blood pressure screenings, we can screen for, fall risk, which would be probably more helpful than a blood pressure screening. They had a lot of ideas with that already.
Okay, I want to transition to asking you about something that you think is overrated in the home care industry. Other people think it's like the thing to do, and you're like, it's really not that all it's cracked up to be.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to Zingage again. So having a live person answer the phone. Okay. So
that's controversial, by the way, Lisa.
I know it. I know it really is, but I mean, for probably at least 5 years, every time you call your bank, you're getting an automated line. Not everybody loves it, but like this week, so my scheduler is out for 2 weeks. So we're using Zingage during the day, which is new for us. So what we did though is we added a 2 rings then Riley. So it's giving us the opportunity to sort of screen the calls. It's like, oh, it's a caregiver calling at 4:00. We know she's clocking out. So we're just going to let it go to Riley. We don't recognize this number, but it's in our area code. So it might be a referral partner. It might be a new client. So we're going to grab it. And if we're all busy, it's just rolling over to Riley anyways. And then we're checking the dashboard. So, I do think, and please don't tell my scheduler I said this, but I think having a live person answering the phone may be overrated because a lot of times it's just, I'm going to say 75% of the times, 80% of the time, it's things that could have gone to Riley first and we didn't need to handle it. So, and quick callbacks, we're checking the data, if we're on another call, we were on a conference call this morning, so we missed a lot of calls, but being able to call back quickly, checking the dashboard and everything and calling back quickly, as long as you're responsive, I'm not saying never answer the phone or never make callbacks. I'm just saying she can handle a lot. You can get a great summary. And if a client is calling up asking about like their bill or something, it does give you the time to get the information ready before you call them back. So you might have an answer for them by the time you call them back. So Riley takes the call, gets the information. It gives you the time to prep. You call them back. You already have an answer. They're happy. They're happier actually than when you talk to them because you already have the information ready for them.
I listen to a lot of calls where people are saying something like, hang on just a second, let me pull up the screen, or let me go find that. And that kind of like delay, it's very human. And I think generally callers are understanding. Now, if a caller's mad at you, they might not be very understanding of that. But that's one of those things that while human is really inefficient and isn't a value add for anybody. And so I love what you've said of like, if we're able to, the first time we talk to them as people, have an answer already prepared and have their issue fully resolved, like that's delightful. I also think about the kinds of calls too, where like someone is calling in and it is like, hey, Lisa, I'm running 5 minutes late. Ugh, that's not a call I need to answer. Or, hey, I forgot to clock out. I left at such and such time. Ugh,
right, because like, those are the triggers things. Everything for Riley. So she takes care of everything. So as soon as she takes that call, she's getting an ETA. She's calling the client. She's doing everything. If there's another caregiver that's on site, she's letting them know, so it's just saving me a bunch of time than adding to my frustration level. Because as owners, you have a lot on your plate already. So if Riley is doing all that for you without adding to the frustration of like, oh, Samantha's late again. So, it just is better not to do it. And then the other thing is, so we had, every once in a while, Sky has glitches, and I'm not going to lie, it does. And if somebody's paycheck is wrong, we had one time that for some reason, I don't know why, it never calculates. My payroll system and WellSky don't like each other very well, so it never does the overtime calculations for holidays. So if they work overtime on a holiday, it never adds it in. So if I forget and just process it regularly, I get mad caregivers calling them going, my overtime wasn't on it. And the great thing about Riley is she doesn't have emotions. So she is very calm. And she has a tendency to calm down the callers when, it's like, no worries, we're going to get this taken care of. And you can actually hear on the calls, the caregivers' tension levels drop when they're talking to Riley. They're like, it's like, don't worry, we're going to get this taken care of. We'll get somebody on it and they'll get back to you. For us, we get frustrated as well because it's like, you've got to give me time to look into it. And so our frustration level goes up, but Riley's never does. She's just even keeled and can talk them down off the ledge. So,
okay, I want to transition to another part of the show because we talked about a big mistake that you've made, but I want to hear about a little mistake that you've seen other owners make all the time, and if they quit, it'd make their lives or their businesses like 10 times better.
This business is a roller coaster. And we all know that you're up, you're down, you're up, you're down, you're up, you're down. And it's difficult to hire and fire. And I was in this situation last year, and it's painful because you get really attached, and sometimes you try to hang on to people too long. And then it's hurting your business. And then sometimes you're like, when should I hire? So it's the hire fire, when should I hire? When should I fire? And it's just really difficult. Now I'm going to jump back into the Zingage thing. So again, my scheduler's out this week, and we had talked about bringing in a person, a temp or something like that. And I'm like, I don't want to train somebody. I mean, because that's the other thing about hiring and firing. It's like, oh my gosh, when I hire somebody, I got to train somebody. But with Zingage, we were just able to flip the switch. And I mean, I'm like, literally, we flipped a switch and said, okay, now we're also operating from 8:30 to 5, and you're answering the calls. So while we're short-staffed for these 2 weeks, we're not really short-staffed because Riley's answering the phones. If we had a call out, she's filling the call outs during the day. If she's doing the missed clock in and clock outs, and I actually had a shift with a client this week and I missed my clock out, and Riley called me, and because I don't have my WellSky app is administrator, so I always call Terry and say, I'm done with my shift. Clock me out. Terry's not here. So Riley called me and she's like, Lisa, you were supposed to clock out at 2:00. Was there a problem? I'm like, yes, I don't have the app on my phone. She goes, oh, that's good to know for the future use. Is there a reason why you don't have it? But she went through the whole thing. So it was really great for me to see what the caregiver sees as well. But yeah, so it's instead of having to hire somebody for this week or hire these 2 weeks or hire a temp or anything like that, I've just been able to kick on Zingage. And, we've had some highs and lows, but it's really made me think that if we get busy again, or if we exceed our hours and we're all pulling our hair out, that I'm probably just going to turn on Riley, maybe 4 hours a day so that it frees up my staff so I don't have to hire somebody. So this whole week has made me think differently about how I can utilize Zingage without having to hire additional staff.
I think, for the longest time, like when you got busier, you had to add more people to the equation. But the promise of AI in general is we can augment the capacity of our people with technology so that we don't need this beefed up team. And in other businesses, that makes sense, right? You're able to have a more scalable business. You're able to add more revenue per employee. But in a home care, it's life or death because it's life or death. And, you grow, but you're going to lose some of your 24/7 clients and you're going to contract in your hours temporarily. You're going to go back up. Like, it is a roller coaster. And I remember talking to an agency who was at 1,800 hours previously, but down around 900 hours. And they still had the same size office team. And they were kind of hanging on to those people, but they were looking at really difficult decisions like what you had to make last summer. And to be able to instead insulate the business and have scalable solutions that when you grow, we're going to cost more money because we're doing more work for you. But when you contract and you lose hours, there's less work for us to do. We're going to cost less. That is a much more scalable way to have lower fixed cost administrative headcount and be able to layer on top of that technology, automation, AI that sets your business up for real scale that doesn't depend on these like step function. I have to hire a whole other FTE and those sorts of things. All right. I want to transition to, we've talked about a lot of mistakes, but I want to hear about something that's happened lately in your business that you're proud of.
Oh, so we're really excited about the GUIDE program, which I'm not sure if you're aware of it. So it's the Medicare GUIDE program. We just got our second national approval. We're approved now with Pocket RN, but Ceresti was our second one that we're approved with. But we have a lot of now local navigators that are reaching out to us because we've got the national partnerships and they're finding out that we're like, oh, you're national partners? We can bring you on really quick. So we've had 3 neurologists reach out this week wanting to bring us into their networks as well. So we're really excited about that. Griswold is doing a really big push. It's called the Griswold Path, where we have our own training program that's going to be a lot of hands-on training for the caregiver. So we'll have a caregiver certification program, really near and dear to my heart to work with dementia clients. So all this GUIDE approvals and outreach has been a really big win of the week for us.
That's super exciting. And that's something too that I want to just kind of call out is I've had plenty of people talk to me about the GUIDE program, and it's like the first time Medicare dollars have been available for home care, which is awesome. And of course, there's like great national providers like Pocket RN, but hadn't thought about the kind of downstream impact of providers at the local level are going to pay attention to who has national certifications. It's a really good justification to extend into your local referral network and get great referrals that aren't even necessarily a part of the GUIDE program, maybe part of the GUIDE program, but ways to increase visibility, provide some differentiation in your market. So I love that. Before we get out of here, Lisa, what do you want to plug?
I definitely want to plug Zingage. It's really, saved my scheduler. She's happy now. It saved me. I'm not answering 1,000 questions at nights and weekends, and it's been super easy to implement and really cost effective for us. It was more cost effective than any of the live answering services that we used in the past, and much easier to work with. We get much better communication. The dashboard is better, and I just would highly recommend it to anybody else. So I definitely want to plug Zingage.
Wonderful. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for coming on the show. Always good to talk to you, and we'll see you soon.
On behalf of the team here at Zingage, thanks for listening to the show. We'll be back next week with another episode, so be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts on Spotify or Apple or YouTube. Leave us a rating while you're there. It helps other people find the show. If you have comments on the show, drop me a line, david@zingage.com. Would love to hear from you, chat with you there.